Welcome to Reduce Repair Cycle Time, the Dealership Feedback Edition. This is Valerie Ziebron, and I am so glad you've decided to join us here today. At this first dealer week that just happened in December, Carrie, Stacey, and I did a session on what you can do to speed up the process, if you will, of the time it takes us to get boats in and out, to get work orders opened and closed as efficiently as possible. It's really a session on working smarter, not harder, and in essence, slowing down to hurry up. There was so much incredible feedback and interaction during that Dealer Week session in the live program that we didn't really have a chance to debrief everything, but I took all of the feedback that everyone gave us and compiled it, and Carrie and I kind of organized it in a couple different ways. And some of that is going to be something you can download and have a physical copy of. But we also wanted to include a bit of a meeting in a box, which is what you're on right now, to give you some of the feedback that we received, and also any of you that didn't get a chance to attend the session, give you just a little bit of a high-level highlight of what was discussed in that section and what's your role in reducing repair event cycle time. You know, a lot of us have worked in the industry a long time, and when you're working in the shop day in and day out, and you're moving boats and you're seeing work orders, we can sometimes lose sight of what's behind every single one of those work orders, what it means to our customers.
3.
Hey, what would you kids like to do this weekend?
Well, it's still in the shop, kids. We'll have to come up with something else.
It's still in the shop? Did they say when it's going to be done?
I'm not sure. I'll give them a call again tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, we're making children cry. Maybe not that extreme, but truly, behind every single open ticket is a customer that's not using their boat, who isn't able to get out on the water. There's so many benefits of reducing repair cycle time. Happier customers who get more enjoyment from their boats, who are less frustrated and angry, that helps us as well, obviously, who return to us for all of their boating needs and wants, and who send referrals our way. And sometimes they write nice reviews and bring us gifts in the process. So there's certainly good things on the customer end, but on our end there's a lot as well. If we have less open tickets, there's less lot congestion, and that leads to less damage, less additional issues from boats sitting around. We have more proactive processes. We've got a culture of continuous improvement, of always looking and taking feedback from all of our team members and what we can do to do things a little quicker, a little bit better. We have more available time. There's less waste. As Carrie likes to say, you never get a second chance to sell a lost service hour. It's not like a piece of inventory you can just put back on your shelf. And lastly, it's a more profitable shop overall. There's more cash flow that's available for more goodies like incentive-based pay, shop improvements, etc. Looking at it from a customer standpoint too, if someone has to wait weeks for basic service or for install on an accessory, what are they likely to do? Choo, they're out of there. They're going to find somebody else to do the gravy work, and they're going to leave us with the warranty and the stuff that's not really all that profitable and takes a lot of time. When we look at who's responsible for making sure that we're doing things right, we tend to think of tech efficiency. We give a tech a job, and how quickly does he get it done? But there's a much larger element to it that we like to refer to as management efficiency. And this is the responsibility of everyone in the shop in supporting roles. It's not just for managers, but it's for people driving the forklift, for people washing the boats, for people working the service and parts counters. It's what are we doing to make sure that that tech time is being used? How proactively do we have the work, the parts, the boats, the logistics all organized so that the techs are really turning wrenches as much as is physically possible? When we look at repair event cycle time, it's really just how long it averages to complete the work. So right now, if you were to guess, in your busiest season, how long have you been out? Oh my gosh, we're backed up X number of weeks. The rest of the year, when you're not as busy, it takes about how long? I'm not talking about really big jobs, but just your basic maintenance types of work. How long are we doing that? Are your customers happy with this? Is it possible we're losing business from this? Have we turned more into a repair shop than we are a maintenance shop, which is far more profitable. So I think part of it is recognizing what your role is in taking a more proactive approach. So no matter what your job is, you play a critical role in making sure that we're being as efficient as we can, and in adding to that culture of talking about what can we do to do a better job and not get things stalled out a little bit. Now right now you're probably thinking, yeah, but there's a lot of things that are outside of your control that can certainly cause jobs to drag on, and that's true. Two of the big ones, waiting on parts and weather. And these are things that all shops, for the most part, have to deal with. Even down here in sunny Florida, which is where I'm reporting from today, weather plays a part, and obviously parts has an issue with everyone. Some vendors do a better job than others, and that's part of tracking repair event cycle time as well. As if we are looking at how long we're waiting on parts from one vendor as opposed to another vendor, that's really good information to wind up sharing with your general managers, your dealer principals, and the vendors themselves. Hey guys, we try to be a partner with you, but it takes us so much more time to get information, approval, parts from you than it does our other vendors. We're really having to look at the long-term annual costs of doing business and who's really a more profitable vendor for us. On the sales end, some things can look really profitable, but when you factor in what it's costing us on the service and parts and the goodwill side of things, sometimes the dealer principals and general managers don't get that full picture. So it's up to us to maybe give them some of that documentation and help them out with that. Regardless of what the yeah but is for you, really focus on what's within your control. Let the rest of it go. If we do a great job managing what's within our control, chances are pretty good you're going to do a great job in minimizing the amount of time we're taking to get boats in and out. So what are the areas, do you think, within your control where jobs tend to bottleneck and stall in your shop? In the live workshop, we looked at all the sort of usual culprits, if you will, from initial customer inquiry, write-up, scheduling, dispatch, diagnosis, parts procurement, quality control, I forgot repair there, detail and delivery. And we had the groups kind of come up with where they thought the issues were, and then they came up with some solutions about what they can do to help that. In the beginning, we sort of said, hey, just vent on this. What are the areas that are frustrating to you? And, of course, parts got brought up a lot, or people not picking up their boat when we're said that it's done. So really want you to focus on what the areas are in your store and maybe take some good notes in this section, because I'm going to go through what some of the challenges were that your colleagues brought up, and more importantly, what some of their solutions and golden nugget best practices are. So this is one of my favorite golden nuggets. They said, we started assigning a service writer to each new boat customer as soon as they sell the boat so that they have a contact person in service. This has really helped. It's so much better than having them call their salesperson and having them promise the moon. Let's start out though with initial customer inquiry and look at what some of the challenges were and some of the solutions that your colleagues came up with. Challenge. Customers say they want one or two things, and then they come in with the proverbial laundry list. We have the customers send an email of everything they want done. It's really helpful in getting parts lined up, knowing the size of the job, etc. Send a reminder about their appointment that asks, is there anything else, before they arrive. We call or email the customer to confirm their appointment. We go over everything, then make sure to address the add-ons. We used to do this just for our mobile service, but we started doing it for all intake, and it's been time well spent. Interesting. Notice that in these three examples they've given us, they've kind of gotten in front of it and made sure they're not finding out when the customer shows up or the boat is there. Get the model and serial number if we don't have it prior, so we can start to get parts lined up. I love it. They're already thinking about getting the jobs in and out. We've trained our customers to send us pictures of codes and video of issues happening to help us diagnose. Fantastic. Your techs are loving that. Let's move into write-up. Here's the challenge we heard there, and there were a few of them, but this is one in particular. We're not getting enough info on the work orders. It's taking time to reach customers, and the techs are taking longer on diagnosing. So critically important that we get that write-up done well. But sometimes it's more than the advisor, it's the customer that's maybe rushing through the process. Here's what some of the feedback that dealers gave us were. Texting is key. Get pictures in advance via text. Get customers used to texting and attaching videos and pictures to the repair order. Get permission to text. They usually respond right away to a text. Now this is a really good point. More of our dealerships are using texting, but a couple of them have gotten into some legal trouble. We have to make sure we get permission from the customer to text. This is a fantastic way to communicate. It's saving a lot of our advisors a lot of time, and it's helping customers feel like they're way more in the loop. If you've got a technician that's given you a final estimate on what it's going to take to repair, you try and call somebody, maybe they don't get back to you right away, but it's interesting, that same person, you send them a text, and even if they're in a meeting, they're probably going to respond to a text pretty quickly. But be sure to get permission. One other little key here is if they've given you permission to text them status updates, that's not carte blanche permission for you to send them all kinds of random promotional things. So you can't use that number to text them, hey, we've got a fall winterization special. It's only to let them know about the repair. That's a whole other line of text permission that you have to get to send promotions to them. Next one, start each line with customer states and read it back to them. This gets them to clarify and gives us better info. This is such a great best practice. It's kind of one of those tried and true foundational points, and it's another one that we wound up learning in the court systems, unfortunately, because if we start the line with customer states, then it's a lot harder for them to say, wait a minute, I didn't say that. And reading it back to them, such a great best practice. So many times when you do that, they're going to say, wait a minute, hold on, that's not exactly what I stated. It's this. And right there, we could have saved the technician a lot of time or even a comeback. Go out to the boat with the customer when possible. Mark it with painter's tape exactly what's wrong or where they want that fish finder to go. Such a great best practice whenever you can to do those walkarounds. I know logistically for some of your stores that's a challenge, but making sure before the tech is digging into a job that we've got someone doing a basic walkaround. Here's a cool one. GoPros on the advisor clipboard have been a game changer. Video the boat and look for additional work. Attach that right to the ticket. What a great little best practice. With our good customers, we set pre-approval amounts to give a cushion to take care of additional things. They appreciate that we're looking out for them. This is another great one, just making sure that those ones that you've got good rapport for, that you know are going to be a little difficult to get in touch with, can we get you to approve a certain amount so if we see something, we can just take care of it for you. You know you've got a good level of trust with the customer when you get it to this point, and it's important that we never abuse that and always try and come in a little bit under where we have our estimate. Have and update accurate parts and jobs codes. Boy, is this one golden. It takes a little bit of time up front, but if we just start adding to that list and we update it as we go, it's kind of what's known as the Swiss cheese principle. Do it in little bitty holes, little parts, and it's going to add up a lot better. Let's move into scheduling. Another really, really important one, and one that brings us a lot of challenges. Here's the challenge we heard. We work on jobs that are easy to get to, or ROs that are fresh in our mind, while others get lost in the shuffle. Review your open RO list daily and use it to prioritize. Such an important thing. If you're not currently looking at that open RO list every single day, then it's going to be pretty easy to lose sight or lose track of the ones that aren't right fresh in your mind. Really be looking at it by date too. What are those ones that have been in here for a while? Why? What's stalling those out? What's affecting those repair event cycle times? Use a dispatch tool to assign work to the best suited techs and explain to the customers that techs are like doctors. They have specialties, so we can fix it right the first time in. I'm sure their technicians love that they describe them as doctors with specialties, but it's true. Sometimes the customers don't understand that, though. They think any tech, any guy standing around is someone who can work on their boat. It's important for us to let them know their types of training and their specialties and what we do, why some boat that's coming in might actually get done a lot quicker because it needed a different type of technician. Use a visible schedule so that everyone can see. When we stop using it, Everything backs up. This one is key. Make sure that whatever the schedule is, and when we're talking about schedule, we're not necessarily saying that at 2 o'clock on Wednesday we're getting this boat in. It's hard to get a schedule that dialed in, but it's at least the order of which boats are going to be worked on in which order by which technicians. Getting in front of that as much as you can to start lining up those work orders and putting that somewhere where everyone can see it, where the forklift driver, the parts people, the porters, everybody can see what's coming up next, even the technicians knowing which jobs are coming up. So important. Use a schedule that everyone can see going on that theme, even if it's just Outlook or Google Calendar or Excel. There's a lot of free tools that dealerships are using. You don't have to spend a lot of money for this. Maybe it's even just a whiteboard. We update the whiteboard every night before we leave. So depending on the size and scope of your shop, a whiteboard might be enough for you. And as you're growing, and I know a lot of your stores are under a lot more pressure in the service departments, you might want to look at some of the cloud-based options that people can just check from their phones while they're out at the marina or on the lot somewhere. We recently added a video screen with the schedule near where we stand for shop meetings. Brilliant! Love this one. Looks great. You can update it, and then you're not having to deal with updating a dry erase board. You update the computer, and boom, there it is visually. So I love that. We put the schedule on the forklift. Now this was interesting. We saw this best practice from a few different tables, and some people said literally we just tape a piece of paper on it, and others said that they had installed a tablet, like an iTablet, on the forklift so that those guys could see what jobs are coming up next. It's an interesting thing, because if they can start moving those boats forward, knowing which ones are coming up next, that's definitely going to save us a whole lot of time. Everyone can see it, but we may not know when we're working on it, but we know what's next. That's a great way to kind of wrap that segment up, is making sure that at least is visible so everyone knows which ones are coming up next so we can be prepared. So we're checking ahead of time to know that, hey, wait a minute, we don't have the parts for this, we need to reschedule something. The saddest thing is that in a lot of stores we work with, so many of these shops have access to scheduling modules, but you're not using them, or you're underutilizing them. It's so sad. A lot of times when we hear from stores that this was the situation and then finally they bit the bullet and learned it, this is what they wind up saying: man, I wish we started using this when we got it. It really wasn't that hard, it was just different. It made things a whole lot easier. So New Year's resolution for you, if you are not yet using your scheduler or your capacity that your DMS or some of the other technology offers, get on it. And even if it's just something like a Google Calendar or Google Sheets or an Excel spreadsheet, it doesn't have to cost you anything. Just start using something so everyone can see it. I love this one. Dealer Golden Nugget. We set up a winterization station tent and did them while the customers waited. It was a bit of a pain at times, but we didn't have boats sitting on the lot getting damaged, and it made a big difference in our shop's numbers. I talked to the dealer who did this, and he said the numbers were just spectacular. It was a bit of a pain because we would have to just kind of pull techs when things came in and jump on it, but they said overall it would be something they would definitely do in the years in the future because it just made such a difference to their numbers and into what was going on in their lot. Similarly, we added a quick service lane. It's not always perfect, but it's great for the bottom line, and we don't have as many open tickets. This is another one we saw quite a few people write down something on. Some of them said they dedicated certain text to it. Others said they rotated text to it. Some said that they tried to go in between other work jobs to get it done. So there were a lot of different ways to get to this golden nugget. 3 is the magic number. Now, I had heard that before, but I wasn't familiar with some of the shop best practices when it came to 3 lines on the work order. Any ticket with 3 lines or less gets fast-tracked in their shop. Most are done within 24 hours or while the customer waits. Another one said, any boat with less than 3 lines gets diagnosed within a day of intake. This jump starts the entire process: estimates, approval, parts, etc. It's really a great best practice to try and get work diagnosed as quickly as possible so you can at least touch base with the customer, get those parts going, and even if we're not going to work on it for quite some time, we've got the wheels in motion, and it's a lot quicker than waiting to do that once the tech gets to it. Moving into dispatch. The challenge. We often have to dispatch various lines to different techs. It's hard to coordinate, and often the boat sits waiting on the next technician. Really know your tech skills. Review annually and build a training plan around the areas that you need. Ideally, we want to get more of our techs able to, as they say, clean a ticket, to do all the types of things that would be needed. That's not always possible, but as much as possible. I like where they're going here, of at least saying, hey, what does this technician need to make them a better, well-rounded technician? When there's a job that our tech doesn't know how to do, our shop foreman will work with him so he can learn. They tag team and get the boat done quicker. Love that one. We use a team approach, especially when we have to go to the marina or work out on the lot. It helps train our techs, and we have a great bump in efficiency. We moved our techs' workspaces so that each A-tech has a maintenance tech or an apprentice next to him. Wonderful best practice. We need more of that. Good job. Another golden nugget, we set aside an emergency slot each day. So many times, and when we look at repair event cycle time, the thing that bogs us down is that we wind up having to pull a technician off of one job and work on something else, and it slows everything down. But if we sort of plan for it, set aside that emergency slot each day. If you don't need it, certainly have other work we can plug in there, but it's great to have it. We used to spend far too much time with techs standing around. Pre-organizing the night before has helped a lot. Gold star for this person. This is one of the #1 golden nugget best practices that I personally have seen take dealerships from not profitable to profitable. So every night before you're leaving, making sure you've got tomorrow's boat staged, all the parts ready, the work orders ready, the techs know what they're going to be doing. And I've even got one store that says the night before they have each of their techs and their detail crew go and physically touch the boat they're going to be working on the next day. And that has saved so many of those early morning issues that wind up bogging things down. Prioritize the jobs in order of importance and show everyone who's going to have an opinion up front so they don't come back and change it or say that they didn't know. So this is another kind of thing that is very, very frustrating, is that you set the schedule and then someone else is coming in and changing it. It's frustrating not just for those of us at the service counter, but certainly for the technicians and the other people involved. So try and get ahead of this. If you've got a sales manager, a general manager, a dealer principal, someone else who's coming in and changing your schedule, get in front of it. Try and go to them first and say, this is what tomorrow's schedule is going to be. Is this all right with you? Get them to commit to that as much as you can. Love that best practice. Moving into repair. The challenge, almost daily, some emergency comes up and the techs are pulled off of what they started. Didn't we just talk about this? This is so frustrating. It's killing our efficiency. Emergencies take the next available slot after what the tech is currently working on. This is just a great common sense best practice. Yes, we're still going to prioritize you, but it's going to be that next possible available slot. Really trying to reduce ever pulling a tech from a boat. Other store took it one step further. They said, in our store, if you pull a tech from a job, you have to pull out $100 out of your wallet and give it to him. They said you're not allowed to charge it to a department like sales or anything like that. You have to physically take it out of your own personal wallet. It has really cut that out. I bet it has. Good for them. Each week, we rotate one technician as a floater. The floater takes all of the emergencies. So you know, tag you're it. This week's going to be a little rough. You're going to have to be pulled off of a bunch of jobs. But that also, I think, helps maybe the people at the scheduling. You know, you've got a floater. You're going to dispatch work to them a little bit differently. Maybe not as detailed work for that week. So I like that one. We gave sales a block of time to manage. They can prioritize their own emergencies. This is one of those golden nuggets that's getting more and more traction. We're seeing more stores actually have sales get a chunk of time. And a great way to start that, if you're thinking about it, is to just take a look at last year's month that you're in and say, okay, last year internal or sales jobs took about this much time, and that's what you can start scheduling is, hey, we're going to give them that block of time. And if they get to the last 10 or 20% of that time, come and see me at the service counter so we can start allocating before it becomes an emergency. We encourage customers to take pictures and video to save time and money diagnosing. So I put this one in 2 spots, but here in particular, because I think if we let the customers know, the more they're involved in the diagnostic, the more you're giving us some really great video, pictures, stats that our techs can use, the less time it's going to take and the less cost that is going to be for you. This winter, we implemented a boat inspection and we listed everything that the boat would need to be in top shape for the spring. It made a big difference in our downtime work, and it will sure save us time in the spring. What a great best practice. That's something we all should be doing every single time we're looking at a boat, but especially during winterization. Great, great job. And that's tough because you're busy that time of year. You want to just rush on to the next one, but a few extra minutes here can really make a big difference in our off season. Cross-train in the slow season on jobs that everyone needs to learn how to do. Great one. Moving into parts. Parts is parts. The challenge, they are rarely ready for the job, or some are, but not all, and we don't find out until the boat has been moved and the work has already been done. Or begun, rather. Wow, that's frustrating. Techs and parts should go over the parts request list together at the onset. This seems to happen after the parts get here. We need to get in front of it. So true. We have the diagnosing tech and the parts employee review the parts request list. They make a pick list and check things off as they come in. Once everything arrives, they get an alert to dispatch. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is how you do it. Bravo to this store. That is absolutely a perfect way to go. Now, I know some of your stores, your tech is actually the one picking those parts, and you're doing what you can do, but if you have the opportunity to have a tech and the parts person up front go over and really, really look at it, play a little devil's advocate with it, make sure they have everything, that makes such a big difference. We have a board that lists all of the parts orders and when we expect them. This is another great best practice, something to review over those parts on order and say, wait a minute, wasn't this supposed to be in last week? What's stalled on it? Let's get back in touch. Look at the schedule daily and move things we don't have parts for. Yes, make sure, at least before you leave, that we're locking in tomorrow's jobs, that we know that everything I've got scheduled for tomorrow, I have my parts for. Pre-pull and stage those parts. Track the parts issues so that we can see the common things we should have and we adjust our min-max in your DMS. Brilliant. We had to bite the bullet and hire a dedicated parts person for our shop. We didn't think we could afford it, but it's actually added so much to our overall efficiency and part sales if we'd only realized this sooner. Man, if I had a buck for every time I've heard that. A good dedicated parts person for your shop, if you've got more than 5 technicians, is so critical. That is what we're going to call a revenue generating position because they will really make a difference in your tech's efficiency. So if you're not currently doing that or you're thinking about it, really that is a good one. Have good relationships with other parts workers and other dealerships. Help each other out. Yes, absolutely. I love when I'm teaching a live workshop and some parts workers meet each other for the first time and say, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You help out my customer so much, and vice versa. So develop those relationships, even if you've never met face to face. Don't be afraid to charge the customer for expedited parts. Most are happy to pay more to get back on the water. So true. And if we're not going to be charging them, we really need to think twice about expediting those parts. Maybe we don't need to expedite it, or maybe we do need to charge the customer, but it shouldn't be something we're absorbing internally. Quality control and detail. Woohoo, we're almost done with the boat, but it could get slowed down here if we're not careful. We have a checkout sheet done by the tech. We don't call the customer until that comes back good. Customers like getting that quality check sheet, and it helps us sell more and cover our butt. Excellent golden nugget. We have our apprentice go over each boat before the customer gets there. We even have them crank the motors. Yeah, get in front of those challenges, find out before you call them to say it's done. But here's the challenge. We wash the boats after the tech's done, but we often have to do it again because the customers don't pick up right away. Ay, ay, ay. We have the detail crew take pictures when the boat is freshly done. The customer gets that email or text with the pictures. If they don't pick up right away, they know it's not our fault. I love this one. Yes, I hope you're not saying it to them that way. It's not our fault. But I empathize with you. We've got to have something to show them, look, we've got it clean. Some other stores have gotten in front of it in a little different way. We call the customer to schedule a pickup or find out when they will use the boat next for our marina customers. We schedule the detail as close to that as possible. Great best practice. Delivery. Customers think we're free storage. We can't get them to come get their boats. The lot is a cluster, and that's caused a host of other issues. Implement a storage fee if it's not picked up within a week. Most DMSs have fine print to charge storage fees. We saw this on a whole bunch of your sheets from Dealer Week. Many dealers mention this, and they're charging, interestingly, somewhere between $15 and $75 a day. So a big variance there. I don't know if the price is really the big point here. It's just making sure that they know there will be a fee and you don't want them to have to pay it. We deliver the boat to them for a fee. Our customers are happy to pay to save themselves time. Convenience, the number one thing our boating customers say that they want from their dealership. So if you can deliver it, charge for it, that's great. We have our customers sign a promise to pick up within 5 days of completion. So doing that right at the get-go so they know at the write-up that that's the expectation, which is great. We call the customer and say, I want to make sure you don't get charged any storage fees and I'd like to get the boat cleaned up for you. When can you pick up? They usually like that we are looking out for them. So we've gone through a lot kind of quickly. Hopefully you were able to take some notes and see what are the areas that are within your control but that are causing issues at your shop to bottleneck and stall out boats. If we were to look at your list of open tickets, we were to say, okay, which ones have been here more than whatever it is for you, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month? Why? What are those areas that we're getting bogged down? Maybe you see it's from one manufacturer and that's something we need to bring to the attention of our upper management. Or maybe you're seeing it's something within your process that, man, once they get to delivery, we just sort of, it's out of mind, out of sight. We've closed out the ticket, but actually the customer hasn't come to physically pick up that boat. Hopefully you were able to identify a couple different areas in there that you need to work on. The thing I want to encourage you, though, is that it's all about averages. When you're looking at repair event cycle time, you're not going to get all your boats in and out quickly. That's unrealistic. Even exceptional shops have an area or two where work is going to get stalled. But the key is to get the averages working in your favor. Focus on where are your low-lying fruit areas, and you can move the needle the most. So some ways we've seen fast-track more tickets, and you've heard some throughout this program, but a couple that I want to just highlight here before I turn you loose is identify those quick jobs right away at write-up. So when you're taking something in, maybe you're going to look at it like that one dealer who says, hey, if it's 3 lines or less, we're going to try and fast-track it. But knowing which jobs are going to be able to be done quicker and get those in and out. I read something on one of the feedbacks that made me just say, oh, I hate when I see this. Someone wrote that their service writer at their dealership thinks that everything should be done first come, first serve. And that's just not right. If a job is going to be really quick, we want it in and out for not only the customer's good, but our good as well. And that same customer might have a job that down the line is going to take a longer time. And so we just have to do a great job of educating the customer. But see what those jobs are that you can quickly close out, get that cash flow into the dealership as quick as possible, get the boat off our lot so it's not incurring other damage. Some of that might be done with quick lane service or having that winterization station, or same thing in the spring. Putting the actual schedule on the forklift, using Google Calendar or Sheets or a whiteboard, something where everyone can see which things are next and they can let us know proactively if there's going to be a problem with that. Maybe having a dedicated shop parts person, or even someone running those parts for our guys, and using a bit of carrot stick to get boats picked up and paid quickly to our customers, like some of the ideas you guys put in there. Really scheduling work proactively so that you're maximizing off season. So every single time you're working with a customer's boat, you're looking at it and looking at it from like an annual standpoint. What is this boat going to need in the next year? And when would be the best time for us to schedule that, so we're not stuck doing it when we're trying to get all the boats in the water in the spring. We're able to do that work in a time that's more convenient for us and the customers, so overall it's good for everybody. Slow down to hurry up. When we talk reduced repair cycle time, it's not about cutting corners or rushing work. It actually takes a lot more time if we have to bring a boat back in for visit 2 or 3, so do it right the first time. Our best shops do everything they can to take care of all the boat's needs while the boat's in our care, or at least schedule that additional work for when it's going to be best for the customer and for us. Customers want their boats back fast, but they want them back right. So what is going to be most helpful to your shop? Well, I'm glad you're on this, hopefully with some of your team members. Talk about it. Look at your open RO list. Where's it getting bogged down? Uncover what exactly your repair event cycle time is, and that's what the acronym is. If you see RECT, repair event cycle time, how long is it taking things per month to get in and out? Where are your traffic jams, and how can you intentionally fast track more of your tickets? You got this. Thank you so much for spending some time with us. Downloadable, in addition to this program, are all of the golden nuggets and dealership insights that we pulled. I tracked those all on one document, and there's some great improvement solutions and process tweaks that Carrie Stacey put together for us. So thank you all so much. We wish you a very profitable, proactive shop. If we can help with anything else, don't hesitate to reach out. Take care.